Good morning and welcome to our morning reflection. My name is Jane White and today's reading is taken from the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, which I'm going to read from the Message Bible. But now, God's message, the God who made you in the first place, Jacob, the one who got you started, Israel. Don't be afraid, I've redeemed you, I've called your name, you're mine. When you're in over your head, I'll be there with you. When you're in rough waters, you'll not drown. When you're between a rock and a hard place, it won't be a dead end. Because I am God, your personal God, the Holy of Israel, your Saviour. I paid a huge price for you, all of Egypt, with the rich Cush and Seba thrown in. That's how much you mean to me. That's how much I love you. I'd sell off the whole world to get you back, trade the creation just for you. So don't be afraid, I'm with you. I'll round up all of your scattered children, pull them in from east and west. I'll send orders north and south, send them back. Return my sons from distant lands, my daughters from faraway places. I want them back, every last one who bears my name, every man, woman and child, whom I created for my glory. Yes, personally formed and made each one. Get the blind and deaf out here and ready. The blind, though there's nothing wrong with their eyes, and the deaf, though there's nothing wrong with their ears. Then get the other nations out here and ready. Let's see what they have to say about this, how they account for what's happened. Let them present their expert witnesses and make their case. Let them try to convince us what they say is true. But you are my witnesses, God's decree. You're my hand-picked servant, so that you'll come to know and trust me. Understand both that I am and who I am. Previous to me there was no such thing as a God, nor will there be after me. Yes, I am God. I am the only Saviour there is. I spoke, I saved, I told you what existed, long before those upstart gods appeared on the scene. And you know it, you're my witnesses. You're the evidence, God's decree. Yes, I am God. I've always been God, and I always will be God. No one can take anything from me I make. Who can unmake it? When I was given the readings for today, my heart sank, because having read them in the New International Version, none of them appealed. So I thought I'd look at them in the Message Bible, and suddenly the Isaiah passage, which I've just read out leapt out from the page. Considering the strange times we're living in at the moment, with churches closed and communities driven apart, it certainly feels some days that we have been neglected by God, that He has gone on His summer holidays and abandoned us. But maybe He is waiting in the wings, not forsaking us, but enabling us to come to Him in our own time, with our own strength. Maybe it needs a crisis to bring us together and to see that He has always been there for us. But like a father with a child, sometimes the child needs to learn how to recognise that he needs help and to come and ask for it. The passage tells us that God is always there for us. When you're in over your head, I'll be there with you. When you're in rough waters, you will not go down. When you're between a rock and a hard place, it won't be a dead end. This week is the beginning of Advent, a time like Lent, to think about the coming weeks and the great event at the end, to think about the journey that Mary and Joseph are starting out on. I wonder if they felt abandoned when they got to Bethlehem and found nowhere to stay, constantly being turned away, eventually find themselves in a stable. Do you think Mary would have wondered, after being visited by Gabriel and being told she was carrying the Saviour of the world, that she would have ended up giving birth surrounded by animals, far from her family? I like to think that she had the conviction that God was by her side and would never forsake her. In Luke 1:50, Mary says, God took one look at me and look what happened. I'm the most fortunate woman on earth. What God has done for me will never be forgotten. The God whose name is holy, set apart from all others. She was filled with the knowledge that God was with her, and regardless what befell her, she knew of His constant love. I guess that she never felt abandoned or left to get on with raising the child of God on her own, but could always talk to God in times of trouble and ask for help. So we too are fortunate, as we are always loved by God and can ask for help. In my car I have a card which says that regardless of what the day throws at me, He will be my side. We will get through it together, and I'm constantly asking for help. So as the days get closer to Christmas, and we're all wondering what is happening in the world and what we can do or not do, we need to remember that we have not been abandoned or forsaken. God is using this time to say to people that He's always been there for us. He's never left us, but wants us back in His loving arms. That He's always been there in the background, and now He wants to call us back to be our Saviour. We just need to ask Him for help, to ask Him to be with us in the dark days, when you're filled with despair that life will never be the same as it was, and the rainbow, God's promise, has disappeared for good. But He reassures us that He inevitably has been persistent in His love, and the rainbow will appear again. I paid a huge price for you, all of Egypt, with rich Cush and Seba thrown in. That's how much you mean to me. That's how much I love you. I'd sell off the whole world to get you back, trade the creation just for you. Let me say a little prayer for you. Lord, thank you for loving me just the way I am. Thank you for always being there for me and the promise that you always will. Thank you for always being there in difficult times and answering our prayers. Thank you for today and for all who I might meet. Thank you for family and friends. Thank you. Amen.